The UFC's biggest robberies. Now, I made a previous video about this topic. This is part 2, but I missed some notable robberies in that video where I feel like the fighter either clearly won or clearly lost, in my opinion. Starting off right off the bat with the first fight, Francis Ngannou versus Ciryl Gane. Now, this fight was very interesting. Ngannou was injured for this. I do believe him at his best does beat Ciryl Gane. He had a massive knee injury. I think both of his knees may have been injured in this fight. Obviously, there was a whole beef with Dana White. But for scoring, the first 2 rounds, very clear Ciryl Gane outpointing him on the feet. Then Ngannou mixes in the takedowns. He's able to take down Gane. And it all comes down to the 5th round. Everyone pretty much agrees on that. Now, if you look at the stats, Ciryl Gane was up on strikes 7-5 in that round. But his strikes were much more damaging compared to Ngannou's. His strikes were mainly on the feet. He landed elbows, and Ngannou's, they were more like ground and pound, not much sting on them. And on top of that, yes, Ngannou, he ended the round on top with control time. But Ciryl Gane also got a takedown. He also got control time himself. And on top of that, he got a submission attempt. So his grappling was much more effective, and he was the clear winner in this fight. Very obvious. He outlanded him, outdamaged him. He had the submission attempt. Ngannou had maybe 1 more minute of control time, but he didn't do anything. Ciryl Gane clearly won this round and clearly won the fight 48-47, 1, 2, and 5. At first, I love Ngannou. I do think if he was healthy, he would have won this fight more clearly at least, but Ciryl Gane definitely won this matchup on the day that it happened. Next up, we have Magomed Ankalaev versus Jan Blachowicz. This is another really easy one to score. 2 and 3 were Jan Blachowicz's rounds. He really damaged Magomed with the leg kicks. Magomed won the 4th and 5th, and he got a 10-8 in the 5th, nearly finished Blachowicz after he gassed out. Everyone agrees it all comes down to the first. At worst, it's a draw. At best, Magomed wins the fight. In the first round, Blachowicz did really good. Again, he started with leg kicks. He landed a good left hand that kind of swelled up Magomed's eye, if I'm not mistaken. So he was doing really good, landing good body kicks. He was landing really good shots. And you could say, oh, they were damaging. They ended up hurting Magomed and his leg later on in the fight. But you could say the same thing with Magomed's body kicks. He landed a lot of front kicks to the body that did end up gassing out Jan Blachowicz later on in the fight. And I just feel like Magomed, he outlanded him by 5 strikes, I believe 18-13. And he really upped the volume in the last minute and a half or so. The front kicks to the body were really good. And I feel like because of that, Magomed Ankalaev, while very close, and Jan Blachowicz was narrowly winning the entire round up until like a minute and a half. He was ahead by like 2 strikes for the majority of the round. But because of Magomed's volume at the end, it did clearly win him the fight. And this was a robbery because Magomed won 4 and 5. And on top of that, round 5 was at 10-8. I do believe Magomed Ankalaev won this fight. Moving on to the next fight, Johnny Hendricks versus GSP. Now, for this matchup, obviously we know it went GSP's way. The last 4 rounds were very easy to score. It all comes down to the first round again, very similar to the previous fight. And GSP, he starts off with like a takedown. He doesn't get much control. He does go for some submission attempts, but nothing really damaging or anything like that. Johnny Hendricks also got a takedown of his own. But Hendricks, he was landing brutal knees to the thigh. He was landing, I believe he landed an uppercut, a knee, elbows to the head when GSP shot, which did cut GSP. And even though GSP did land a few nice shots at the end, and it was close on strikes, Johnny Hendricks, his strikes were so much more damaging, and the cut, where yes, it was closer than I think people talk about the fight. But Hendricks clearly won the first round 10-9. He outdamaged him. He outlanded him. Takedowns, control time, everything was even on that end. Johnny Hendricks clearly won this fight. Next up, we have Israel Adesanya versus Robert Whittaker. Now, for this fight, it was pretty even. Again, the swing rounds are 2 and 4. Every other round was very clear. Adesanya dropped Whittaker in the first. I think he also outpointed him in the third pretty clearly. And the 5th, Whittaker clearly won 2 and 4 on the swing rounds. And even though the numbers don't really show it, I think that round 4 was actually closer than round 2. I know Adesanya outpointed him. He landed a few more strikes than Whittaker, but mostly they were leg kicks, which were pretty good. But Whittaker's shots were more jabs, looping shots that clearly landed pretty clean because Adesanya goes back with his head and chin wide up in the air. And I think because of the clean strikes, I think he also got a takedown. I think he clearly won the second if you watch it back. Again, the numbers don't really show it, but Whittaker's shots were much more damaging and very clean, much cleaner strikes compared to Adesanya, which a lot of his didn't land super clean, again, outside of the leg kicks. And round 4, Whittaker started off very good, landing clean shots again. He got the back, which is effective grappling. It's a little bit more important than just getting a takedown with, control time, but no damage. This is effective grappling. And Adesanya, his output wasn't great in this round compared to the earlier rounds, in my opinion. He started to slow down a little bit. And Whittaker, again, the jabs, everything, the straight shots were landing super clean compared to Adesanya's leg kicks. And there wasn't that many in this round, to be honest. I believe there was like 3 or 4, but nothing too damaging. I think Robert Whittaker clearly won this round. And I think that he won the 2nd, 4th, and 5th, giving him a 48-47 decision, clearly winning the fight. Adesanya, I think his fight with Yoel, I don't think that was a robbery. I know people hate on him, but I do think Whittaker actually won this fight. And the judges, the commentary was awful this entire fight. Bisping was just glazing Adesanya. I think it was also this fight. I don't know if Joe Rogan commentated this fight, but it also was awful in my opinion. Whittaker clearly won this fight and won 2, 4, and 5 again. Next up, we have Demetrious Johnson and Henry Cejudo. Now, I did say previously that I thought Cejudo won this fight. It wasn't a robbery, but I rewatched it for the 2nd time. And after rewatching it, I do believe Demetrious Johnson won this fight. Originally, I gave the 2nd round to Cejudo because it was pretty even on the feet and he did get a takedown. So I don't think that Johnson landed anything more damaging. But when I rewatched it again, I just saw Demetrious Johnson clearly outlanding him. Again, not super, out damaging him, but he was clearly up on strikes about 5 or 6, if I'm not mistaken. And then the takedown, which I just think it gives Demetrious Johnson the round. And after rewatching round 4, I think that round is almost even more obvious. I think the Cejudo was at least competitive in the 2nd round on the feet again, getting outstruck. But in the 4th round, it was all Demetrious Johnson on the feet. And with the takedown, yes, he did get him down. He did kind of dominate him, but there was nothing, no ground and pound, no damage. And if it's just control time, it doesn't count for that much. And I think Henry, I just think that on the feet, he was completely outstruck in the 4th. All the damage, all the clean strikes were Demetrious Johnson. And for that reason, I think he clearly won the fight. And I actually have it 49-46 Demetrious Johnson. I said he was overrated in my previous video, which I do still kind of agree with. I think his legacy is a little bit overrated. I don't think he's top 3 or anything like that. I know a lot of people consider him the GOAT, which I just don't see. Henry Cejudo, I said he was overrated as well, and I agree with that. I think this fight kind of proves that, since that this is really his only great win, to be honest. But yeah, this was another fight, I think a clear robbery. I think the UFC just wanted Demetrious Johnson out of the organization so they could trade him, so that they could revive the flyweight division, but they didn't do it fairly. Demetrious Johnson clearly won this fight, in my opinion. Next up, we have Ciryl Gane versus Alexander Volkov. This was a more recent one, very brutal robbery. It sucks because I feel like the UFC always benefits Jon Jones. If Volkov loses or wins this fight, it's going to look bad for Jones because, it's seen as a very good win to beat Ciryl Gane, one of the better heavyweights in the division. But Volkov goes out there and does it. It doesn't look that impressive, but this was a brutal robbery. The 1st round I did give to Ciryl Gane. It was pretty back and forth on the feet. Volkov was very aggressive. They both got takedowns, but Ciryl Gane, his submission attempts, especially the guillotine at the end, which was pretty tight, secured him the round pretty clearly. It still, was a close 2nd round, to be honest. It was very back and forth. The strikes were pretty even, but Volkov clearly outdamaged him. He wobbled him with a spinning back fist. He outlanded him. His strikes were more clean. They were more damaging, enough where it's very clear he won a close but clear 2nd round. And then for the 3rd round, Ciryl Gane just laid on bottom pretty much the entire round for like 4 minutes. And even before that, Volkov was winning on the feet, even though they both weren't very active. They both were tired. Very clear Volkov round. And this was another one, 29-28 Volkov, rounds 2 and 3. Ciryl Gane won the 1st, but again, not as much damaging shots in the 2nd, where I think also Volkov's output clearly gave him the round and the fight, in my opinion. Moving on to the next one, we have Dustin Jacoby versus Khalil Rountree. I believe this was a few years ago. Another brutal one, because if Rountree loses this, he doesn't get the title shot. I know this was like a year or two before, but still, he had kind of the undefeatedness. I get he lost years back. But for this round, and for this fight, the first 2 rounds, I thought Jacoby clearly won. He outstruck him by like 14 strikes or something. Round 2 was close, but I thought he did the more damage. The output was insane by both guys, but especially Jacoby. The third round was really the only close round to score, which I do think you could lean Khalil Rountree, but I think for the first 2 rounds, very clear Dustin Jacoby. I don't know how they gave it to Rountree. I don't think any judge gave every single round to one fighter. All the rounds were pretty mixed up. Jacoby 29-28 is my scorecard. I think he clearly won the fight. That was another one. But yeah, let me know what fights I missed out if you disagree with any of these. But yeah, let me know what you think. And yeah.